I'd like to say something positive about this government, but I'm finding it very, very difficult to find anything to say which is in any way positive. The latest ridiculous idea is that they now want to apparently basically cement over and concrete over the situation regarding two viable shale gas wells, basically. They were set up by Cuadrilla, the company that wants to extract gas from the shale wells. They've been told basically they want to be decommissioned and the site should be unavailable for work basically by June of this year. The process is going to begin next month. We've got the CEO of Cuadrilla here with us now, Francis Egan. Francis, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Oh, this sounds like a mad idea, doesn't it? I mean, why is it that they need to destroy things and make it so that nobody can ever use them ever again?
Well, I think mad is a rather generous assessment of this idea. The wells in question are the only two remaining shale gas wells in the country.
Yeah.
They've been drilled at great expense to a depth of between 2.5 and 3 kilometres underground in Lancashire, and they've proven that there is shale gas and it can flow to surface.
Yeah.
And now we have to go on site, pull out kilometres of steel casing that line the well, and then pump hundreds of metres of cement down the wells, rendering them permanently unusable.
Right. And I mean, is there not
don't ask me where the sense in that is.
Yeah, no, there isn't any sense in it. And is there not some legal process that you could trigger? It seems to me that you shouldn't be allowed. I mean, if you're a private organisation, you're a commercial organisation, why should you be dictated to by the government on this basis?
Well, the regulator is in charge of all of this. Of course, the regulator reports to the government ultimately.
Yeah.
The regulator says, well, the wells have reached the end of their useful life, and this is typically what happens when wells reach the end of their useful life. Except in this case, the wells never even started their useful lives because they were strangled at birth by regulation and red tape. So I think it's a bit disingenuous to say, well, this is industry practice. This is what we do when the wells finish. And whether you agree with fracking or don't agree with fracking, pouring cement down the wells is not sensible. You should keep them. There's no cost to the taxpayer in keeping them. Who knows what might happen in the future, and you might want to use them. But as of the end of June, they will be permanently unusable and will generate a lot of CO2 emissions in the process.
Yes, exactly right. I mean, that's the other kind of ironic thing about all of these green manoeuvrings that they want to do, this government. They seem to not have taken into account the fact that an awful lot of what it is that they want to do is not very green at all, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, and if you look at what shale has achieved in the United States, currently their electricity prices are 4 times less than ours for businesses and 3 times less for customers, which is why, of course, all energy-intensive businesses, and you've heard Jim Ratcliffe at INEOS saying that the UK and Europe are just basically shutting down industry. And we say we're reducing CO2 emissions, but in fact all we're doing is exporting them.
Yes.
I think between 2005 and 2022, UK energy supply declined by 30%, I think. And people think, well, that must be a good thing. Well, it's not a good thing. No. Well, that means your industry is going overseas and your consumers can't afford to turn on the heat.
Yeah, and we're getting absolutely rinsed by the people that are selling us the energy from whether it's Qatar or America. I mean, we're actually buying in shale gas, are we not?
We are buying in shale gas from the US. We are turning it into a liquid. We are transporting it across the Atlantic in huge tankers called liquefied natural gas. When it gets here, we have to turn it back into a gas, and then we put it into our system. And we don't count the CO2 emissions for that because we didn't generate it here.
Yeah.
So it's like taking the accounts off the books.
Yeah, and it also, from the point of energy security, it leaves us much more vulnerable, does it not, to what happened when Putin sort of turned off the gas supply to Western Europe?
Well, not just that. I mean, as you probably know, 2 weeks ago, the wind didn't blow. And in the middle of the night, the sun wasn't shining and it was very cold. And wind power generated about 1% of our electricity. If it hadn't been for gas stations firing up, we would have had a blackout. And the government paid out millions of pounds for 2 hours worth of electricity.
I know. Incredible. You've got a message for Ed Miliband, if you could find him.
Well, I think engineering and common sense should come into the equation along with ideology. That's a polite message.
Yes. Very well put, I think. Very well put. Thank you very much indeed. Francis Egan. We must talk some more. CEO of Cuadrilla, a company that has brilliantly found a way of extracting shale gas from beneath the surface of the earth, right? Bringing it up to the top of the surface of the earth and turning it into what can only be described as very warm energy, which could create all manner of happiness to people who are paying more for their electricity than anybody else in the entire Western world.